Mic check, mic check. Here goes. My name is Nascimento and I'm ready to drop bars. Just kidding. Good morning. I want to begin this chapel talk this morning by thanking Mr. Hall for providing me with the opportunity to speak to you all today. I assume that most of you have seen me around campus, or perhaps you saw me in the play this past weekend. Many of you may have initially confused me for a postgrad or a senior, and although I wish I could be one, I am not. Today I'm here to share with you a little bit about my childhood and some of my experiences in this long journey we call life. I've experienced many highs and many lows, and various hardships that I would not wish upon anyone. But while growing up, my grandmother would always tell me that life is not about how hard you fall, rather what you do when you get up and how you learn from the fall. My name is Albert da Silva Nascimento. I have 3 sisters, one older, 2 younger that I have never met. You may be surprised to find out that I was actually born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, then lived in Florida until I was 1. At the time, my parents were not seeing eye to eye, so they brought me to Brazil, where I moved in with my father's parents. I lived with my grandparents ever since, and every chance I get to take a trip to Boston and pay them a visit, I do so. While in Brazil, I initially spent a significant amount of time on a farm, and later split time in the favela and in the city. I spent 10 years in Brazil, and if not for a series of events, which are too long to describe today, I may have never moved to America. For those of you who are not familiar with the favela, they are more or less the slums of the urban areas within Brazil, more often than not located on a hilly terrain. I have many memories in the favela. I was fortunate enough to stay away from mischievous activities. I never robbed people, I never did drugs, and never joined a gang. However, for one reason or another, trouble always seemed to find me. I will share one specific event that put the gears in motion for my move to America. Like we did many days growing up in Brazil, once school ended, if we hadn't skipped, we would head straight for the soccer park. Now, not a soccer field, a soccer park. There's kind of a difference in Brazil. Soccer park is basically a basketball court, fenced in except without hoops and soccer goals. We would play there for hours until we were all too tired to play anymore. On this particular day, we arrived a few minutes after school to find a group of guys sitting on the bleachers on the other side of the fence. We played for about 40 minutes or so before the unthinkable happened. I kicked the ball high into the air, and the next thing I knew, it had gone over the fence, headed to the middle of the group of gang members. Poof! A white cloud shot up in the air. Now, to put it into perspective, if you've ever witnessed LeBron James do his pregame powder toss, picture that in your head. Before I could react, my friend Chester began screaming for us to run. It turns out that the white powder was a pile of cocaine getting packaged for distribution. I began to run as fast as I could, maneuvering my way through tight paths, jumping through people's yards, knocking down clothing lines, getting cut by the glass used on the top of the cement walls to keep intruders away. Being 9 years old, my stamina did not outlast gang members chasing us. We all went our separate ways, however, Chester and I were caught. The gang members proceeded to punch and kick us until their leader showed up. He was furious for obvious reasons. He went on about how he should kill us for what we have done. Then out of nowhere, I was hit with the butt of his gun, opening a gash on the top of my head. While blood poured down my face, I watched Chester receive a similar blow. After delivering a final blow to our stomach, they fired several shots in the air and walked away. As soon as they were out of sight, a few people came out and cleaned us up a bit, then told us to run home. They said we were lucky the leader didn't kill us, but the smaller soldiers would probably come looking for us, hoping to make a name for themselves. When I returned home, my family was outraged and decided a change was needed. I no longer stayed in the favela, and soon after I was on my way to America. My family decided to chase the American dream in order to provide me with better opportunities. Fast forward several years. to the spring of 2008. At that time, I was a fifth form student at Brooks School in North Andover, Massachusetts. My life had changed dramatically. I was a varsity soccer and basketball player, hoping to soon be a member of the varsity crew team as well. As many of you know, crew is a tough sport, especially when the lakes are still frozen and all you are able to do is work out indoors. I managed to survive the indoor workouts, the Ironman race, and even some 2K challenges. However, as we were nearing our preseason trip, the coaches became aware of the fact that I couldn't swim. I spent the next 3 months taking swim lessons and learned how to do the breaststroke well enough to take the swim test. I went to the Andover YMCA on a Saturday morning during my free block and was ready to knock out the swim test. In my 3 months of practice, I never actually swam in an Olympic-sized pool. I always used the little training pool that they provided for obvious reasons because I was pretty scared. I started the test in the deep end and slowly made my way down to the shallow end. To my surprise, I made it all the way down and halfway back. To this day, I'm not sure why, but once I got to the section of the pool that drops down to 15 feet, I freaked out and literally screamed, "Oh!" Explicit. As my mouth opened, a stream of large air bubbles took away the little air I had saved in my lungs. The panic hit quickly. I could only complete 2 more strokes while gasping for air. One thing led to another, and darkness began to take over. I do not remember much, but what I do remember is this. Things began to get really dark, starting with my peripheral vision, slowly closing to a small glimmer of light. I started my slow descent to the underworld for what seemed like eternity. I couldn't hear a sound. I couldn't see anything but the bright light and the silhouette of my hands flailing, searching for something to grab onto. I guess you can say my life flashed before my eyes because I remember thinking about my family and friends and whether or not I would see them again and if they would miss me. I don't remember any of this, but luckily the lifeguard sprang to action the second someone started screaming for help. Next thing I know, I was laying at the side of the pool, spitting up water and gasping for air, completely confused and crying, absolutely not knowing what was going on. "Well, you failed, honey," what I assume was a failed attempt to lighten up the mood by the lifeguard. On the ride home, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. This went on for a few days until I spoke with my advisor about the experience. He told me that what happened was perhaps a blessing, that I should step back and take some time to appreciate life and everything in front of me. As I mentioned before, I've been through a lot of ups and downs. I've witnessed people being murdered. I've witnessed brutal beatings. Sadly, the last time I saw my father, I didn't say I love you. And every day I wish I could take back those memories and forget them. Through all of this and many other experiences, I've learned that you must be grateful for life. Too many of us waste our time and energy worrying about things we cannot control, instead of appreciating the things we have in front of us. Life is a beautiful thing, something many people battle to keep daily. I recently read an article that talked about gratitude. The article stated that gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. Gratitude turns what we have into enough and then more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, and confusion into clarity. It can turn a simple meal into a feast, a simple house into a mansion. Gratitude helps us make sense of our past while allowing us to bring peace to today. Since my near drowning experience, I've looked at life differently. Since that day, I call my grandparents every day, even if it's just for a quick 3-minute conversation, simply saying hello, how are things, or that I just wanted to say hi. I tell them I love them every day because you never know what tomorrow will bring. Thinking back on that day, it must have been weeks since my last phone call home. I was enjoying the boarding school bubble I now lived in and lost touch with the real world. However, It took that near-death experience to bring me back to reality and to realize that I have been given numerous second chances in life, and it was time that I started showing appreciation. Lecturer and scholar Maria Robinson once said, "Nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anybody can start today and make a new ending." I am tired of walking down the halls and hearing kids say, "This place is boring, blah, blah, blah." If you think it's boring, do something about it. Create a group. Create community service projects. There are endless opportunities waiting for you out there. Whatever you do, be grateful that you were given the opportunity to be here. Believe it or not, you were chosen to be here. Hundreds of kids have been denied this opportunity. Be grateful that you have a faculty full of adults who are here to help you grow, not only intellectually, but as a person. Let me fill you in on a little secret. We don't do this for the money. I challenge you all to take some time to yourself during this Christmas break and think about everything you have in life, all that you have been given, and all that you've worked hard for. Take it all in and attempt to appreciate it. Keyword there is attempt, because I know it's a hard thing to do. Thank those in your life who have always been there for you and will always be there for you. Tell your parents and any of those close to you that you love them. More often than not, we take for granted the simplest of things, such as having a place to sleep at night, warm clothes during the winter, and even the simple act of breathing. You take in about 29,000 breaths a day. I read that somewhere online, I'm not sure if it's true. So I encourage you to go out and create the moments that not only take your breath away, but also the breath of those around you. Thank you for your time. Let's finish the week strong. As my friend Duncan said last year, carpe dat diem, and seize the day. My fellow knights, have a good day. One love.